Hello, welcome to the Nature of Pensacola. My name's McLean. This program is a celebration of our natural resources in Northwest Florida. And today we're celebrating with two very special people and two ambassadors, our wolf ambassadors from the Seacrest Wolf Preserve in Chipley. We have Brenda Bischoff, who's director of Earth Day Pensacola, and we have Cynthia Watkins, who is co-founder of the Seacrest Wolf Preserve, and our two wolf ambassadors. So thank you very, very much for joining us. And I would like to begin by talking about the Wolf Preserve, because you are going to be one of the people at Earth Day, right? You can bring the wolves there.
That's correct.
Yes. Would you tell us a little bit about the purpose of your preserve and how you got started?
Seacrest Wolf Preserve was founded by my husband, Wayne, and myself in 1999 after supporting the wolf cause for many years. We founded the Wolf Preserve on our 430-acre farm in Washington County to provide safe, humane habitat for wolves, and number two, to do a very profound educational outreach on behalf of all of wildlife, but wolves in particular, addressing the fears, myths, and superstitions that still exist about wolves today.
Why are people so afraid of wolves? What is that? There seems to be like this primordial fear, and the wolf is always the bad guy, like in Little Red Riding Hood.
I'm glad you asked that question, because you know the fear and myths and misunderstanding about wolves were born over on the European continent. Eons ago, when the European continent began to be settled, those settlers moved into wild wilderness areas where wolves had lived for eons, and they timbered the land, they built farms and homesteads and communities. Then they went out into the surrounding areas and depleted the prey base, which in the wild, as we know, wolves are carnivores, and in the wild their main prey are the ungulate species, the hoofed animals, the elk, the deer, the antelope, etc. So when the prey base was depleted, their sense of smell led them to eventually to a food source as they were desperately hungry, and inevitably it was the settlers' livestock. So when predation problems began in Europe, the hatred for the wolf was born over there, and in 10th century England, King Edward allowed his citizens to pay their taxes with wolf heads, and by the time 16th century Europe rolled around, the Europeans literally believed that evil demonic spirits lived inside of wolves, and it was during that time frame that the Frenchman lifted his pen one day and wrote the fairy tale of Little Red Riding Hood, portraying the wolf as the big bad guy and the big bad human aggressive animals. And so prior to the European settlers coming to our country, here in the lower 48 to America, the Native Americans, our indigenous peoples, lived in harmony with all of nature, and they particularly respected the wolf. Only when our European ancestors came over here and the same things were done, moving into wild wilderness areas and prey bases being depleted, and when predation problems began here in the lower 48, the mindset was already in place. This is an evil vermin, and that's how wolves came to be exterminated, to the brink of extinction.
Wow, and that's still going on, isn't it, in the Arctic and in Canada and in our northern states?
That's true. Wolves in Canada and Alaska were never protected under the Endangered Species Act that was implemented in 1975, and wolves in the lower 48 finally came under that federal protection of the Endangered Species Act, but they were never protected in Canada and Alaska, and they're hunted and trapped, and as they have been for many, many years up there.
And they shoot them from helicopters?
Yes.
And little
they have
airplanes
canned hunts where planes fly over and chase the pack down until it falls exhausted in the snow, and then the plane lands and the hunters get out and shoot their trophies.
That's very sad, and I think a lot of us are really not aware of that, since we don't have wolves in this part of the country. How many wolves do you have at your preserve?
We have 16 pure wolves that live today at Seacrest Wolf Preserve, and we have 6 wolf dog crosses that live there as well.
And are you breeding them?
We do have a captive gene pool program. If any pure wolves are bred for educational purposes in the lower 48, such as zoos and educational facilities, they must come from captive gene pool breeding programs.
Wow. So if the wolf isn't the big bad guy, what are wolves really like?
Wolves are amazing carnivores that contribute very profound things to the ecosystems in which they live, and that's never been proven more than with the Yellowstone Project. And I know we don't have time to get into that, but the ecosystem in Yellowstone was hurting very badly because the wolf had been absent for over 60 years. The herbivores had all overpopulated. They had overgrazed the park. Grasses and trees have died. And so after the wolf was brought back, and horrible erosion problems, by the way, had manifested itself, I think we as humans forget that there's such an interdependency in nature. Everything is so intricately connected. And so in the wolf's absence, those ecosystems became horrifically out of balance. And now, after 10 years, 2005 was the 10th anniversary of the wolves being restored to Yellowstone, and the ecosystems are now healthy and balanced. The trees are flourishing, the grasses are flourishing because the herbivores are thinned out and balanced, and the overgrazing has come to a halt.
That is so important, the balance. I think that we forget that sometimes, go to one extreme. What else do you want to share about?
Well, I just want to share that nature's so awesome and everything is so connected, and I think we as humans forget that that interconnectedness is there. And I personally believe that every living thing has a conscious energy that makes it connected, and it would behoove all of us to do what we can to help make a difference in helping keep our planet, Mother Earth, in a healthy, balanced way. So much damage has been done. It's time for us to give back now. And in the last 100 years alone, thousands and thousands of species have disappeared from the planet, and because of careless human activity. And today, Defenders of Wildlife have updated a very shocking statistic that within every 24-hour time frame, up to 100 more species become extinct, be it plant or be it animal. So it would behoove all of us to be finding ways that we can make a difference in helping keep Mother Earth safe and protected from the damage that's already been done. It's time for us